Rap is a genre that often features subject matter related to criminal activity. While not all rappers are criminals, many popular hip-hop artists have had run-ins with the law. Here's a look at some of the rappers who have faced or been given the longest prison sentences. Tay-K. Taymor Trayvon McIntyre, better known as Tay-K, is a rapper and convicted felon who grew up in Arlington, Texas. Tay-K is best known for his viral track, The Race, and the high-profile court case that followed, where he was sentenced to 55 years in prison for the killing of 21-year-old Ethan Walker. Tay-K was born in Long Beach, California, but eventually moved to Arlington, Texas. Both his parents were members of the CRIES, and Tay-K's father was in prison for part of his childhood. When he was released, he moved the family to Arlington to raise his kids in a better environment, but the move to Texas did not seem to keep Tay-K out of trouble. He started a rap group called the Daytona Boys with fellow rappers Nipsey and Santana Sage and started releasing music on SoundCloud in 2014. In 2015, he was involved in the murder of 20-year-old Sarah Muchlechner, a student at the University of Texas. Tay-K was not the shooter, but he was in the vehicle when his friend Eric Jamal Johnson, aka Santana Sage, allegedly shot the victim. Sarah and the Daytona Boys had attended the same New Year's Eve party earlier that night, but didn't interact until later on in the evening. After the party, Tay-K, along with Santana Sage and Nipsey, left the party in a black SUV and pulled up alongside the vehicle Sarah was driving. They tried to flirt with the girls in the vehicle, but another man in the car confronted them and a fight broke out. The other vehicle driving sped off and Santana Sage chased after them. He fired 2 shots at the vehicle, one of which killed Sarah Muchlechner. Santana Sage confessed to the crime and was sentenced to 44 years in prison. Tay-K was not charged in the case, although he was a witness. His own legal troubles began in July of 2016 when he was arrested in connection with the killing of 21-year-old Ethan Walker in a home invasion that occurred at the house of a local drug dealer named Zachary Belote. Tay-K, along with 6 other accomplices, planned to rob Belote of drugs and money they suspected were in the house. On the night of September 26, 2016, 2 female accomplices seduced Walker and Belote, then let Tay-K and the others in to rob the 2 men. During the confrontation, Walker was shot and killed. Tay-K was arrested in connection with the murder, then put on house arrest. It was while on house arrest for this crime that he cut off his ankle monitor, fled to Elizabeth, New Jersey, and released the viral hit that made him famous. He was arrested by U.S. Marshals the same day that he released the song and was brought back to Texas to stand trial for Walker's murder, as well as another murder and an assault he allegedly committed while on the run. Authorities claim that between the time that Tay-K cut off his ankle monitor and when he was captured, he killed 23-year-old Mark Anthony Saldivar and assaulted 65-year-old Oni Skip Pete in 2 separate incidents in Texas. Saldivar was a photographer that Tay-K allegedly shot in a Chick-fil-A parking lot after trying to steal his equipment, and Pete was a runner who Tay-K allegedly robbed and assaulted in a park in Arlington. Tay-K's trial began on July 15th for the killing of Ethan Walker. The prosecution used all of his alleged crimes as well as his lyrics from The Race to convict him of the killing. He pled guilty to 2 counts of aggravated robbery, but was also found guilty of murder and another count of aggravated robbery. He was sentenced to 55 years for the murder charge and given additional smaller sentences for the other charges that are set to run concurrently. He will not be eligible for parole for at least 27.5 years. Tay-K was also found guilty of capital murder for the killing of Saldivar. He has yet to be officially sentenced for this crime, which will only make it harder for Tay-K to ever get out of prison. Casanova. Caswell Sr., better known as Casanova, is a rapper born in Brooklyn, New York. Casanova has been involved in gang life since he was young and is alleged to be part of a blood set called the Untouchable Gorilla Stone Nation. In 2020, he was indicted on federal RICO and racketeering charges alongside 17 other suspected members of the set and is currently facing up to life in prison with a mandatory minimum of 10 years in prison if convicted. Casanova was born and raised in the Flatbush neighborhood of Brooklyn. He was the youngest child out of 10 and was raised by a Panamanian mother and Jamaican father. He was involved in gangs from a young age and dropped out of school in the 8th grade. He was arrested in 2006 at the age of 19 and sent to prison on a robbery charge. He served almost 8 years and was released in 2014. He started releasing music in 2016 and began to collaborate with other high-profile artists in New York like Dave East and Don Q. Casanova did his best to stay out of trouble and not end up in any situations that may compromise his freedom. However, he did end up in a high-profile beef with 6ix9ine back in 2018 that resulted in a shooting outside of an Adrian Bronner fight at the Barclays Center that involved Casanova's entourage and 6ix9ine's crew. The two artists squashed their beef publicly and were even featured together on the Uncle MURDA track, Get the Strap. However, that didn't stop 6ix9ine from pointing the finger at Casanova while cooperating with authorities to fight his own RICO charge. In his deposition against the 9 Trey Gangsta Bloods in 2019, 6ix9ine named Casanova specifically as a member of the Bloods and testified that they were one of the groups that the 9 Treys had beef with. Then, on December 1st, 2020, prosecutors from the Southern District of New York Federal Court declared a warrant for Casanova's arrest after 17 other suspected members of the untouchable Gorilla Stone Nation were arrested. Casanova surrendered the next day and is now facing life in prison. Prosecutors claim that the gang ran a drug trafficking network that spanned all 5 boroughs in upstate New York and had committed acts of racketeering, drug trafficking, fraud, and murder. A total of 18 men were arrested in connection with the crime, and it's currently unclear what Casanova is alleged to have committed. It hasn't been revealed whether 6ix9ine's testimony led to the arrest, but it makes sense that prosecutors would want testimony proving Casanova was affiliated with the gang if they were building a case against him. The charges are still fresh, and given the delays caused by coronavirus, Casanova will likely be fighting this charge for a while. Federal cases have a much higher conviction rate than state cases, and unless Casanova's willing to go the 6ix9ine route and snitch, it'll be difficult for him to beat it. But given his background, it seems unlikely that he'll cooperate with authorities. Developments in this case are still ongoing, and more information is more likely to come as the case unfolds. Kodak Black. Bill Kahan Capri, born Dyson Octave, but known by his stage name Kodak Black, is a rapper from Pompano Beach, Florida. Kodak is a popular artist known for hits like No Flockin', Tunnel Vision, and ZZ, as well as his long list of legal troubles. He's currently serving time for possession of a gun by a convicted felon and falsifying a government document. However, he's also facing 30 years for a rape charge that was alleged to have taken place in 2016 and has yet to be tried. Kodak was raised by a single mother who was a Haitian immigrant in the Golden Acres housing projects in Pompano Beach. The artist started rapping in elementary school and would go to a local trap house after school to record music. So from a young age, Kodak became accustomed to street life. He was expelled from the 5th grade for fighting and was first arrested in middle school for auto theft. Kodak released his first mixtape, Project Baby, in 2013 and followed up with Heart of the Projects in 2014. In 2015, Drake posted an Instagram live story dancing to Kodak's single Skirt off his second mixtape, and he signed a deal with Atlantic Records later that month. Yet, throughout his career, Kodak has faced legal challenges. In 2015, he was arrested for robbery, battery, false imprisonment of a child, and possession of cannabis. In 2016, he was arrested for possession of a weapon by a convicted felon and possession of marijuana, and then arrested again 1 month later for robbery and false imprisonment. He pled guilty to all the charges brought against him and was sentenced to 1 year of house arrest after record executives from Atlantic testified on his behalf. But before he was released from prison, authorities discovered 2 outstanding warrants for his arrest: a possession of marijuana charge from St. Lucie County and a felony criminal sexual conduct charge in South Carolina. Kodak pled no contest to the drug charges and spent 4 months in prison. Then, he was transported to Florence, South Carolina to face a sexual assault charge. In 2016, a female victim accused Kodak of sexually assaulting her in a hotel room after a concert at Treasure City in Florence. He posted bond for this charge and was released, but is yet to stand trial for the incident due to the other legal problems he's faced since. If found guilty, Kodak faces up to 30 years in prison. Kodak has been arrested several other times since this incident, mostly for drug charges, possession of a firearm, and for violating his parole. He's currently serving a 46-month sentence for purchasing a firearm and falsifying government documents in order to obtain the firearm. He's set to be released on November 3rd, 2022. However, his bail keeps getting pushed back, and he's alleged to have been involved in a fight with the guard that has added time to his sentence. Kodak has claimed through social media that the system is out to get him, and he's being treated unfairly by the prison staff and prosecution. But even once Kodak is released for this charge, he'll still have to stand trial in South Carolina. So even if Kodak decides to change his ways, he still has a long legal battle ahead of him.